Coming into the 2024-2025 NBA season, before the season even began, the Detroit Pistons, they were already disregarded and counted out. We look at the ESPN win projections coming into this season. They have the Detroit Pistons stamped right at over or under 25.5 wins on the season. We are now just coming off All-Star break, a few games post All-Star break, and the Detroit Pistons, they have already shattered that projection. So far, the Detroit Pistons have a record of 32-26, so we have a handful of games left in the Detroit Pistons. They've already shattered ESPN's win projection by about 6 games, and not only are they one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference, but they're also currently one of the hottest teams in the NBA. They are tied for the biggest winning streak in the NBA with the Cleveland Cavaliers with a 7-game winning streak, and outside of those two teams, only one other team in the league right now has a winning streak of 5 or more, and that's the Boston Celtics. So this is impressive on so many different levels, how hot they've been recently, the winning streak that they're on, because we're in the most pivotal stretch of the NBA season, which means these games are a lot more meaningful because we have those teams at the bottom of the conference that has the potential to get into the play-in tournament, possibly a potential play-in start, and then we have the flip side of that, which are the Detroit Pistons, the teams that's trying to hold on to the spot that they already have in the seeding. So we're going to see these games get more competitive. We're going to see star players playing longer and longer minutes. So for the Detroit Pistons to be dominating at this time of the season, it is just showing how much they've grown over a very, very short period of time. And that's been the biggest thing for me this season for the Detroit Pistons. And honestly, not just the Detroit Pistons, but in all of the NBA. I think this has been the most impressive thing. And that's the ability to grow that the Detroit Pistons have shown within one NBA season. Because we look at these guys from the very first game of the year and compare them to right now, it's two completely different ball clubs, and I understand when you coming in with new front office pieces, and when you're coming in with a new head coach, and you're coming in with some new players, it could take a moment for those things to come together, and boy has it been coming together at an insane rate for the Detroit Pistons. And we can look to those team stat categories to help us tell that story, because the Detroit Pistons, they've been improving in all of those pivotal categories all season long, and you compare it to the last couple of years, a much better basketball team in those pivotal categories. For example, in points per game, they're 12th in the NBA at 114 points per game. We look at their offensive rating, they're 12th in the NBA, they're 14th in the NBA in offensive rating, so they're a top 15 offensive rated team. And when it comes to defensive rating, this is so big time for the Detroit Pistons, because they've struggled immensely on this side of the ball the last 2-3 years. They're a top 11 team on the defensive side of the ball, but over these last couple weeks, they've been one of the best teams in the NBA on the defensive side of the ball. Just got off to a slow start defensively, but now they're climbing the ranks in that category, and they're very legit on the defensive side of the ball. So we have them improving in all these pivotal categories. They're also an outstanding rebounding team. They're 10th in the NBA in offensive rebounds, and they're 7th in the NBA in total rebounds, and this is something that's been constant for them all season long. So we have the Detroit Pistons, we have them being elite in some categories, and we have them being pretty damn good on both sides of the basketball. So that has been very, very eye-opening to me. It's been very impressive. And we look at what they're able to do on the defensive side of the ball. They have some elite defenders. They have Jalen Duren, who each and every game, he's getting better and better. We know he has his moments where he gets into foul trouble, but we got to understand, Jalen Duren, this might be his 3rd year in the NBA, but he's still supremely young. When he came into the NBA right off the bat, he was the youngest player in all of the NBA. So I think the more and more experience he gets, the more playing time he gets, he's going to become an even better defender. But he's so athletic, he can switch out, he can protect the rim, and then he secures the rebounds. He's been having some crazy rebounding outage this season on a back-to-back against the Los Angeles Clippers, against Ivica Zubac, another great rebounding big. Jalen Duren was able to get 12 points and 19 rebounds on a back-to-back, where they had to travel from Atlanta back to Detroit. So and then they also have Thompson, we know how nasty he gets on the defensive side of the ball. So you have a outstanding perimeter defender, and you have a rim protector in Jalen Duren, and then you have a group of guys that's buying in on the defensive side of the ball. The Detroit Pistons, everyone plays with a very frenetic energy, and they're trying not to give up anything easy on the defensive side of the ball, and that's been showing their last couple of games. In their most recent game against the Los Angeles Clippers, only holding them to 96 points. So defense has been big time for the Detroit Pistons. And then we look at the offense. I said we struggled immensely on the defensive side of the ball these last couple of years. That's true offensively too, but this is a completely different team on the offensive side of the ball. And ESPN, the moves we made this offseason, they didn't respect those moves because they had the win total at 25.5. We got a handful of games left, and the Detroit Pistons, like we said in the intro of the video, they have 32 wins. But we look at these off-season signings for the Detroit Pistons, they might be little, like we said, we might be little signings. Guys, a lot of people might not know some of those guys that we signed, as far as Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley, and Tim Hardaway Jr., but those signings meant all of the world for Cade Cunningham, who is the offensive engine for the Detroit Pistons. And I don't think there's any offensive engine I'd take in the NBA right now over Cade Cunningham, but they finally went out and got him some more valuable parts, and I love the way this Detroit Pistons offense is constructed right now, because when we talk about Cade Cunningham, when we look at everything around him, they have a rim running big, and Jalen Duren, who sets some of the most effective screens in the NBA, and he's so athletic. Slipping for him and rim running towards the rim, it comes so easy. He can catch lobs, he can catch it, take 2 steps and dunk the ball, he can catch it, take a dribble and dunk the ball, and he's also working on his passing and his ball handling, and then those guys that they brought in this year, allowing the Detroit Pistons to space the floor. And I can't count on my hands how many times I've said this on this channel, but you get Cade Cunningham any type of floor spacers, and you're going to see how good this guy is. And I kid you not, I never seen it on my channel, Cade Cunningham getting discredited, but I heard it in real life. I heard people saying Cade Cunningham should play shooting guard, Cade Cunningham should come off the bench. Some of the craziest things you would ever be heard, some of the craziest things that you could hear about the game of basketball. But now he has those floor spacers. Now he has Malik Beasley, who just about halfway through the NBA season just completely shattered the Detroit Pistons single season 3-point shooting record. He has Tim Hardaway Jr., who you have to respect on the 3-point line. You have Tobias Harris, who, I'm not going to lie, I was a little worried about him at the beginning of the season because he has not been playing like this Tobias Harris that we've seen of late. But as of late, about the last month and a half or so, Tobias Harris, he has been exactly what we paid for. He has been big time for the Detroit Pistons, and since Jaden Ivey has gone down, he's become a much more reliable scoring threat. So for those, so those are the reasons right there. The Detroit Pistons, we've seen them take huge leaps on both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball, and then they're also one of the more physical teams in the NBA. They can rebound. So, like I said, I think this is, this has been very impressive. And I think it's the most impressive thing that's happened this NBA season. When we look at where they were at last year, having that winning streak, and then we seen before the year even started, they were counted out and discounted, and now they're just proving everyone wrong. A seven game winning streak. Hey, I'm a little speechless, man. I don't really know what much else to say, man. But guys are having great individual seasons. We see Cade Cunningham. He's an all-star. He's an all-star this season. I think he should have been an all-star starter. I think he's the best point guard in the Eastern Conference. And then Jalen Duren. Shout out to Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren didn't have a elite start to this season, but like we said, the Detroit Pistons, we've just seen gradual growth this entire year. And Jalen Duren, he has been a monster lately, getting a double-double almost every game, becoming more adept on the defensive side of the ball, we have Asar Thompson getting back from his very, very scary blood clot injury. He's getting more acclimated. He's getting more comfortable. He's becoming more effective, more impactful. So just imagine how things are going to be whenever Jaden Ivey can come back and be 100% healthy and come back and start contributing to the Detroit Pistons again. Because before he went down with his injury, him and Cade Cunningham, they were playing some fantastic basketball together. So as a Detroit Pistons fan, as a fan of the game of basketball, I am extremely excited for this team. The Detroit Pistons, 6th seed in the Eastern Conference, 32-26. They're on a 7-game winning streak, and they just won a back-to-back set. So and that's one more thing before we get out of here. The Detroit Pistons, that's another thing that we've seen them win all type of games this year. We've seen them win close games. We've seen them blow teams out. What they did to the Chicago Bulls in that first game when they had them on the back-to-back set, that was a spanking. And we've seen them come from behind. We've seen them lose the league and recapture it. So this has just been a big time year for the Detroit Pistons. Like I said, they're proving all of those haters, all of those doubters wrong. But if you guys enjoyed, please leave a like, comment down below. How do you feel about this season? And then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man. And that's curtains.